Well, it's officially been 1 year since the world went topsy-turvy. Hey, cut that out. It's been a whole year since it became obvious that the pandemic was a pandemic, that we weren't getting out of this so easily, and that it had come home to roost. And coincidentally, it's also the 1 year anniversary of when I'm pretty sure I caught COVID. Wow. Leander. Oh. I was out for a walk in the woods with my dad, and all of a sudden I started feeling kind of weird. I felt a bit kind of spacey, just a little bit like not really able to make sense of my awareness of my surroundings. And then I had this like really intense pain in my toe of my left foot, and that pain kind of shot up my calf. And then ever so slowly throughout the walk, I just started feeling weirder and weirder and worse and worse. And then I got a headache. And on the ride back to town, I was really starting to lose it, like starting to lose control of my senses and just really tired, really unaware. And by the time I got back home, all I wanted to do was just go to bed. So that's what I did. And so then for the next week, I was just kind of like out of it. And it wasn't like really intense. It wasn't really like severe. I wasn't in extreme discomfort or anything like that. And I barely had any breathing difficulties at all. I just felt like this tightness in my chest. Wasn't really coughing, didn't have any mucus at all. And well, my sense of smell just kind of disappeared. I couldn't smell anything. Everything just kind of smelled like dust. And my taste went. And the main symptom was I was just stupid. Like just fucking idiotic. Unable to focus, unable to concentrate, unable to just think through stuff rationally. I was struck almost dumb in terms of my ability to communicate. I couldn't like write anything at all. I certainly couldn't read, and I was kind of barely able to speak even really. I was just disoriented and confused and inarticulate and just not having a very fun time. It was not great. I would give it a 0 out of 5 stars. Would not recommend. Now, of course, I'm lucky that I didn't end up with life-threatening effects. I didn't end up in the hospital. I didn't end up really having any breathing difficulties at all. But I was one of these long haulers that end up with COVID symptoms for months and months and months afterwards. And I know a couple of people who ended up in this boat as well. And well, we all caught COVID. We're pretty sure we caught COVID so early that we don't know that we had COVID because there was no testing available at the time. Several of us actually tried to go and get tested. My mom tried to get a test because she had something that was like this as well, and we were turned away because we had no direct contact with somebody that had it, and that was the qualification to actually even get a test at the time. So I probably never really will know because I'm not going to pay the money to get an antibody test, and who knows if there's even any antibodies left at this point. But I had the symptoms, the mental symptoms, the cognitive symptoms for many, many, many months. I'm pretty sure I got brain damaged by this thing, to the extent where even into the summer, I was not thinking clearly. Still, I had troubles like well into the late summer. I was basically unable to read. Now I've already been struggling with my attention span, and I've already been struggling to actually like get any reading done, and this is part of the reason why I was flunking out of school in the first place. But I don't think that's purely it. I think it was in fact partially the fault of this virus that caused me the brain damage that caused this cognitive impairment for so long. And man, that was frustrating to know that I have a cognitive ability that I just can't access at the moment. It was kind of like being a little bit drunk all the time or a little bit stoned all the time and just not able to summon the faculties necessary to do the things that I want to be able to do. And like I I'm at a loss for words here because that is the helplessness is among the worst tortures I can possibly imagine. And given that so much of what I do, so much of my ability to exert agency over the world is born of my ability to use my brain, use my mind to do things, to conceive of stuff and communicate stuff, write stuff, say stuff. That was not very much fun. And by the summer, I was able to like get out of the house and like do stuff and communicate a bit, but I was not at my peak capacity. And it was only by like late in the year that I was even feeling like myself again. And I think by this point, like I feel like I'm fully recovered now. I'm still kind of an idiot, but I think I was an idiot in the first place. But I have to wonder, it makes me wonder, like, since so many people have gotten this illness, and so many people more than we even know have this illness because the testing wasn't available, and even still, some people may not have gotten tested because they didn't want to be restricted from their activities due to being diagnosed with it. What kind of a mass scale effect, what macro scale effect does having this many people have had something that potentially causes brain damage have on our society? Not to mention all the actual physical health effects. Even just the cultural damage, even if it weren't potentially causing neurological damage, even just the cultural effects of having to have lived through a pandemic are going to have lasting effects even well after the pandemic itself is through. We've got now an entire generation of kids raised in this environment where they're being taught to stay away from people, keep physical distance so as not to infect oneself. And I've interacted with a couple of kids who are leery about being near people, even near people that are potentially safe. And like the whole masking thing, the whole, like there's all these cultural social norms that have been instilled in children and adults that are not very great for a pleasant society. Now, this is not to say that we shouldn't have done it, because obviously we should have. This is a good idea, and the anti-maskers are idiots because, well, we needed to prevent this from getting more people. I would not wish my COVID experience on anyone else, so I am now incredibly careful about the possibility that I might infect other people. I keep my distance, I wear my mask, I do everything possible, within reason, to avoid being a virus transmission vector. And we all should be doing that because, yeah, you don't want COVID. You definitely do not want COVID. You don't want your grandmother getting COVID because she'll probably die of it. That's just the way it is. But once this pandemic is over, there is going to need to be a process of healing. We are going to need to readjust these social norms and readjust ourselves to a healthy way of living in society, social amongst one another. And I should hope that this is going to be a positive process. I would hope that this is going to be illustrative of just how important social contact and touch and closeness really actually are. Like, I've always kind of been a little uneasy about touch and closeness, but at this point I'm so touch starved. I just want to hug everyone. I want to be close to people. I want to touch people. I just want to be near, because I know how much I've missed it. And there are so many people that have missed it. Addiction and mental health issues are through the roof. There are people that have been stuck at home with abusive partners or with just their isolation for so long that we're all kind of hurting, and we're all really looking forward to this being over. And the dawn is on the horizon. The vaccines are on their way. There is, in Canada, a likelihood that we'll be pretty well vaccinated to herd immunity by like midsummer. America's about the same probably. We might actually be able to get a decent tail end of the summer. I am so looking forward to going to the beach and hanging out with people, and the very second that all the social restrictions are lifted, I am having such an amazing party. And you're all invited, gosh darn it. No, not really. My apartment isn't quite big enough for that, but the sentiment is there. It really is the hardships of this period that have taught me the value of the things that I value. That I recognize just how important social contact is. That I recognize just how important my physical health is, as well as my brain. Being deprived of one's capacities, being deprived of one's social connections for this long, it sucks. It really does suck. And our society has had a really bad string of luck. And I hope we learn to appreciate what we have much better, much more, since we've now had this experience. And that we heal better. We heal to a new way of living, that we recognize the value of one another, that we recognize the worth of our connections to people, and that we start acting in a cooperative and collaborative way and, maybe solve some of the other problems that didn't get solved by this pandemic that I was really hoping were going to be solved. But it's going to take work. It's going to take effort. It's going to take teamwork and collaboration from all of us. And may we all do our part. Anyway, I make these videos daily, and so if you enjoy this content, algorithmic stuff. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow.